Hey guys, good morning. This is Nina Means coming to you for Coffee Talk. It's been a few weeks since we've done this, and just been kind of attending to some things that needed to happen here. So I'm sure you guys are all kind of in a similar boat. I think we're all dealing with things that are going on personally, things that are going on in business, trying to reorganize and pivot and continually refine our model and our delivery for what it is that we're doing. So one of the things that I felt the need to do was to just kind of talk about the value of creating boundaries in your workspace. This is something that has really been a bit challenging for a variety of reasons. This is something I'm constantly having to get better at myself. But I think that one of the things that, we have been looking at is how do we protect our energy as entrepreneurs as we create meaningful, impactful engagement for our customers. And I think that, in the space of, the pandemic and in the space of, just startup life in general, it's easy to get in a space where you're constantly pouring out into other people and into their needs and into the business and what the business needs. And a lot of times what happens is we get neglected in the process. We get completely flattened. There's no recharge, there's no reset. And the long-term effects of that, tends to be, kind of chipping away at the quality of what it is that we do, chipping away at the value of what it is that we provide. And at times, that unfortunate, phrase burnout. And so kind of want to talk a little bit about ways that we create boundaries in our spaces, and I'm going to kind of share a little bit from different brands who do it different ways, but in things that I think are really valuable. Some of these things have to do with literally your hours of operation. Some of these have to do with how you structure yourself regarding your your contracts and what you will and won't accept, regarding, vendors and customers and, how you interact with others, kind of setting those boundaries to really protect yourself, not just, from, the normal business to business interactions, but how do you protect yourself mentally as well? So these are things that we're going to talk about today that are a bit different than what we've typically been talking about. Last time, we talked a little bit about some of the trends in gamification and, how customers are responding right now and what kinds of things are happening in that space. But today, what we really want to talk about is how do we, create meaningful boundaries? And I think that this is really key right now as we're kind of looking at, okay, what's our next step in a space like this? The pandemic has really pulled a lot out of us. And I think in terms of what we're experiencing in terms of kind of these accelerated models that are pushing us into virtual spaces maybe sooner than a lot of us were planning to go into them, pushing us into, creating more excitement in virtual delivery than what maybe we were ready for, in that means that I'm not sure about you, but in terms of scheduling, I find that it's easy to be on a Zoom call every second of the day, and so, the ability, like normally what would have happened is, there would have been a little bit of breathing room of like a 15-minute walk to a meeting down the hall, or maybe there was, a buffer of having to drive to a meeting that was in a different location, in a face-to-face, and not just talking to a lens all day long or talking to people through a screen, but creating some boundaries even in your scheduling that really helps you to manage your time, manage your space, manage your energy, so that you're able to give your highest and best for the most meaningful impact, not just for yourself, but for your business. And so one of the things that I've seen some people do, and you may have started to see some of this, is a lot of, I've noticed, I had a really great meeting with a colleague in our local innovative leaders market here in Austin. And one of the things I really appreciated was that he did not have an hour-long meeting option. It was either 15 minutes or 25 minutes. And what I loved about that was that, he knew that he had, maybe the full half hour, maybe even 20 minutes, perhaps, to give. But what he did was he was like, at 8:25, this is when I'm wrapping up. So then I know that I'm not going to completely back myself into a meeting every second of the day. So it literally gives just a breather in between meeting options. It also allows you not to be infinitely available at all times to other people just because you're sitting in front of your screen. This is something that I think is really key for business owners, emerging designers, creatives, to really be able to unplug at some point and to really take some time to really take stock in your own state so that you're able to kind of come back fresh and new with new ideas. A lot of times with the screen time, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it really saps a lot of my creativity. It's a lot of consuming. If you use it that way. But hopefully, what a little break does is it gives you an opportunity to retool and think about what is it that I'm producing, and how am I driving impact, and how am I creating meaningful experiences in the online virtual space that are giving and making the world better. Not just something that I'm soaking up, from social media or LinkedIn. I am, scroll queen #1. So, I'm not standing here in judgment of anyone who's, got an affinity for scrolling. But I think that there has to be limits that we put in place to protect our energy. And so this is something where, not to sound all, ethereal and, esoteric about, your energy, but it's really about, are you tired? Are you worn out? What can you do now that can really make a difference in terms of how you experience this time, and what can you do to really protect, what's happening in your world? So I think that what we really want to do is to encourage you to find ways to create breaks in your screen time, creating breaks in your Zoom calls, not backing yourself up, screen to screen to screen, and expecting to be able to turn out your best work. For designers, we're creative beings. I'm a designer myself, and we need time to really recharge. And between our social media posts, between our Instagram stories, our TikToks, all the different places that we show up, LinkedIn, for a lot of our business to business activities. And I'm actually seeing some designers starting to sell on LinkedIn, kind of feeling a little bit on the fence about that personally. However, I'm seeing it, and it's, these things are trending and changing about how people are trying to create meaningful work for themselves. I think these are times whenever, we need to find ways to create boundaries in our own lifestyle that allow us to be able to do things that support the creation of new product, new ideas, and allow us to really shift from inhaling all of what's being put in front of us on our screen to taking time away to really incubate, pardon the pun, that's what we do here, incubating, incubate your creativity, and incubate your thoughts, and incubate your gifts, your talents, so that you're able to really pour out. And one of the things that I've done, and something that I found really useful, is to kind of take intentional breaks and intentional days of rest. And so that's really helped me to be able to turn around and say, you know what? I can't do everything, but I can do some things really well. And I can actually pour into this space better whenever I've given myself breaks in my schedule. And so whether it's taking time for a walk, or taking time for, some meditation, if that's what you do, but just giving yourself some time just to recharge mentally, so that you have something to give. I think that however people are able to give themselves a moment to unplug, sometimes it's difficult to feel like you can do that in your own house. You've got like the dishes staring at you, you've got I've got a little one, and so, there's some things that you won't actually be able to turn off, but there are some things that you can kind of limit in terms of distractions. And I think that's really what we're after, is just how do you reduce your distractions? How do you carve out time to give yourself some serious rest? And then whenever it's time for rest, to really take that time seriously, instead of scrolling your night away. So, these are all things that are really helping business owners, kind of weather the storm. Is that sometimes, what, your best energy is just rest. Your best power is just getting some sleep, and so I don't want to sound like your mom, but we really believe in your ability to weather this storm and to be able to get through this phase, and you're going to need your creative mind to really think about how to get to the next step. And so we really want to support you in that, with these kinds of talks and things like that, where you can say, hey, what are some of these keys that I can unlock that are easy? They cost me nothing. It's just a little bit of planning, a little bit of carving out of my schedule. There's some things that I just really enjoy that I decide to enjoy, on the front steps of my house, or, walk as a walk, and, maybe I just take a walk around the neighborhood, or maybe I just have a cup of coffee, but I do it away from a screen, or I do it outside of a meeting. Not like I am right now. Drink up. But I think that, this is really where we have an opportunity to make some meaningful changes that will really see dividends in the rest of our day and the rest of our week. I think I was also going to talk to you guys a little bit about, I'm actually not going to take the whole 30 minutes if we don't need it today, but I did want to just kind of make a note for anytime that we're looking at how are we creating boundaries in our contracts and work relationships. That's going to really pay off dividends as well, because anything that you can take off your mental checklist of things that have not been resolved or clearly defined up front, those are things, that's brain power back for you, to be able to think about other things and to solve for other issues. So, sometimes whenever I've seen young designers get involved with, specialty stores or other companies, they may have certain things in their contract that may cause them to lose sleep at night. Like, what happens if the store cancels their order? Or what happens if, they don't pay on time? Or what happens if, and there are all these unopened or unanswered questions that are causing a lot of additional stress, and stress will kill your creativity, and creativity will kill, the lack of creativity will kill your business. And so what we do is we create an infrastructure in our contracts that help us to really deal with some of the additional stress and the burnout, and the issues that we may deal with. And that's just another boundary that we set. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that, because, for small businesses, there's certain activities that will kill you, literally will take you out as a small business, because you can't weather certain storms. Now, if you're a larger brand or you're a larger company and it's just one of many contracts, you may be able to get by on someone canceling an order on you. But if you're a small business, if you're a small company, whenever someone invests in you and then they decide that they no longer want to invest in you, but you've already initiated production, this is something that's really difficult for small businesses. And I wish that companies, I know everyone's in the same boat, there's retailers who are having a hard time with this, where they're like, I can't hold on to it, and so someone's gotta take it. But designers, we do have a power moment in the contract, where you get an opportunity to say, no, I don't accept chargebacks, or no, I only will do a percentage of, sometimes people will do a credit into the next purchase, or, in that way you're not sitting on things that are completely unaccounted for. You may not have gotten the entire amount of what was under the contract, but at least you're not left holding the bag indefinitely, or that you get a chance to release that product for sale again, because there's certain protections that are in place. These are boundaries. These are boundaries to make sure that you don't get set by larger companies, or companies that are more established, that are just, trying to fill, their store. And, there's no shade, this is just part of how business operates. It's just how, things go. But I think everyone has to know what it is that they can withstand. And I think part of understanding what you can withstand has to do with healthy boundaries that you set in your contracting. You set your rules of engagement. even with your customer, kind of knowing what it is that you can and cannot do. I know that free shipping is pretty much everywhere right now. You kind of expect to get free shipping, and that can be really challenging, where you're like, hey, you know what? I actually can't afford right now as a small business, as a small designer, to pay for everybody's shipping. I can roll it into the cost, but then it kind of pushes me into a space in my retail price that is just a little too high, for the market. So I'm gonna take a stand on the pricing for the retail price where it should be, and then just say, I'm sorry, but there's a flat rate shipping unless you commit to a certain amount of product. And then we'll look at, possibly waiving that. We really find ways to create value, but you have to know where your thresholds are as a designer and as a business, and those boundaries are going to save you. They're going to keep you sleeping better at night. They're going to improve your vendor relationships. They're going to improve your relationship with your customer, because everyone's going to know what to expect from you. You'll have an opportunity to really see exactly what it is that's expected and needed of you. And so we really want to support you in that. But it's really, boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. I feel like this is kind of like the name of the game right now. It's so easy right now. Like, I've had a call, or not a call, but we did ACCFI Presents with Ann Casper. And I keep going back to this because I love Ann. She is just, she knows her business. She's been in this industry for such a long time. And she is so wise about how businesses go about, initiating their engagement with their customer. I mean, she's built her own network of people on her social media. So if you're not following her, definitely go check out Ann Casper's Instagram. But she's just really good about keeping that dialogue going throughout everything. A bomb goes off, and she not literally, but she's very talented with keeping the communication up with her customer and showing up in the way that they need her to. And I think that that's really key. So, in terms of, the reason why I bring her up is because I see her, whenever we were talking about boundaries, she was really adept whenever it came to understanding where in the space designers needed to show up in terms of how they interacted with their customer. And I think that's really what I wanted to bring it back to. Sorry about that. That was a little bit of a ramble. But I wanted to bring it back to what she was sharing regarding that, because I think that she really understood how strong, and consistent your brand voice had to be. And a lot of that has to do with kind of the ground rules you set up front and being consistent in those ground rules. And so, again, like, this is really like, what are your terms and conditions? Like, it may seem like you're not really building a brand in that space, but that is really where a lot of your relationship is getting built. Where are people, like, it can feel like it's the fine print, but the fine print is kind of what sets you apart, from the next company, and so how are you actually like creating that boundary, that engagement, that expectation, in those moments, so that people know what they're going to get from you. And I think that that's really the challenging thing right now, is like, maintaining consistency during challenging times. However, if you've got a really good foundation of engagement, really the only thing that should be changing is maybe a tweak of your message, not an entire wholesale change of kind of your underlying foundation. So I wanted to kind of bring that up to you guys, because I think that, this is something that we're constantly reevaluating, throughout our process during, COVID and the pandemic, but it's really about developing and driving, long-term engagement with your customer. One of the things that, I didn't do well that I am planning to do better is that, I kind of dropped out for a couple of weeks, and you guys are like, well, where did she go? What happened? And, dealing with some other things that needed my attention. And, that's kind of all I can really say about that. However, I think that for what it is that we do in an ideal world, that this is really like kind of rain or shine, that we're always hitting our mark. and that consistency really does go a long ways with your customer. Our administrative coordinator has kind of told me time and time again, we got to hit this mark. This mark has to get hit every single time. Doesn't matter how it gets hit, it just needs to get hit. And so a lot of these things are what's building your brand consistency and your experience that people are having with you. I really want to make sure that, and again, that's a boundary, right? It's a boundary. It's an expectation that has to be met, not just for your customer and not just for your vendor, but for yourself. What are your boundaries for you? What are your expectations of yourself? And so sometimes you're going to have to hold yourself to a standard to be able to get through those times. And so this is all learning. We're all growing together. This is not a preaching session. We are supportive. We're behind you. We believe in you. I do want to take the last few minutes to kind of announce some really exciting things that are going on. I'm really, really excited. We've got a new series that's going to be getting started here very shortly. Macy's is actually sponsoring a virtual course that will be launching here in just a few weeks. You'll get some details from us, and we'll send out to our email list of exactly what that's going to look like. But we're really excited about being able to share with you the new course, Do You Really Want a Fashion Business? And so this class is going to give you an opportunity to really kind of go through design and development, production and manufacturing. We do capital and financing. We talk about your sales and distribution and your marketing. And this really is just kind of an overview, and a talk on brand strategy. So, this is really just an overview. It's like a highlight, like just think of it as kind of like a sampler of what it is that you need in order to think about, am I really ready to start this fashion business? And if I've already started, do I really have all the things I need to make this happen? And if I don't, how should I go about getting there? And that's really what we want to fill in some gaps for you with. This is just the first of many virtual courses that we're going to be launching here shortly. The second thing that I'm very excited about is that we're actually going to be going into an international exchange program sponsored by the U.S. Embassy of Cairo with the city of Austin. And we'll be actually going into a more formal explanation of all of that. But we're really excited about it. We'll be announcing it here, and kind of you heard it here. But we'll be sharing that with you in just a little bit. Applications will probably open in October, and the program starts in December. And so that's a program that's fully funded. We're looking for some really great businesses that want to expand internationally, as well as brands that are really kind of just getting themselves started. We really believe in you guys, and we want to be able to support you and create these meaningful engagements. So it's an exchange program, meaning that those designers are going to get an opportunity to go to Egypt at the very end of 2021. But in the meantime, they'll be getting courses in fashion management and entrepreneurship. And it's really going to be our international exchange. You'll be on virtual sessions with other designers from other parts of the globe. And it'll be a really exciting exchange. So we're really excited to be able to bring that to you. We'll have a lot more details on that coming up. But those are two things that I want to let you know about that are on the horizon. So one is the virtual class. It's 6 weeks. So you'll get an overview on brand strategies from some of the top minds. And then you'll get, these are going to be all taught by industry veterans. I'm going to kind of squeeze in a little half-hour lecture from me as well. But you're really going to be hearing from all of our incredible network on that class sponsored by Macy's. So that's something else that we'll be doing. These classes will be sponsored by other brands and companies in the future. And so we're really excited to be able to share more about that as we get that developed. So as I promised, I'm actually going to go ahead and wrap up this talk here today. We're not going to go all the way to 10:30, but I do want to let you know, first of all, boundaries, guys, boundaries for yourself, in your schedule. Don't get stuck to the screen all day. Boundaries for your customers and your businesses. Make sure that your terms and conditions are very clear about what people can expect from you and what they can't. Make sure that your contracts are really clear in terms of how you're interacting with other businesses, whether it's your vendors that are supplying you or with your retail outlets that are providing product to your customer, in a wholesale format. These are things that are going to help you sleep better at night. These are things that are going to help you weather this storm. So these are things that you should have already been doing. However, I think that these are things that sometimes designers, we're creative. We make really beautiful product, but we may not be thinking about the experience that we're designing through these other spaces. So, this is really about, making sure that you're protecting your personal energy, and then making sure that you're protecting those engagements with other people. So just something to kind of consider, something to think about. But then lastly, kind of recapping, we've got these 2 new exciting programs that are coming out soon. One with Macy's that we're really excited about. Thank you, Macy's, for partnering with us on this first course within our Future of Fashion series. And then also, with the U.S. Embassy on this new international exchange program for emerging talent. So please stay tuned. We're really excited to be able to tell you more about what that's going to look like and how exciting that's going to be going forward. So I will definitely share with you more. If you haven't gone onto our Instagram's at ACC Fashion Incubator. And then if you haven't joined our mailing list, that's really where you're going to get more information on the application process for the international program, as well as being able to sign up for the Macy's course. So give me a quick call, or not a quick call, don't call me, but jump onto our email and we'll send you more details, okay? So fashion.incubator@austincc.edu. We are Austin Community College Fashion Incubator. My name is Nina Means, and this is Coffee Talk.